Hello and welcome. I'm Andrea Huber, and this is Front Row Seat. Today, I'll be speaking with Edilia Gänz, director of Fedora since its launch in 2014. This nonprofit organization is building new funding models for opera and ballet companies, focusing on bringing in younger audiences and patrons. Working with 95 cultural institutions in 25 countries, Fedora encourages international collaboration to create innovative new productions to tour across Europe and beyond. Welcome to the program, Edilia.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. You're in Paris, I see, with the impressionistic paintings.
Correct.
Well, hello from Graz. Now, let's get right to it. How did the idea for Fedora come about? And why is this kind of platform necessary?
Well, actually, Fedora responded to a need in the sector. At the time, there was this need of organizations to work more closely together and to build new creations for the stage, for opera and ballet, and also to facilitate the tours of these new creative projects to reach the stages, not just in one country, but also on the international stage, and to also reach new audiences. And all of these opera houses are also going through a change in their funding model. So it's also about developing new possibilities of funding for their institutions and also for their artistic work. And at the same time, it's also about reimagining opera and ballet for the 21st century and giving also a stage to emerging talent and allowing them to express the topics of today and mirror society that we live in these days.
That's a wonderful thing, because how often have we sat in an opera house and seen opera and ballet and have seen the 19th century works or 18th century works sort of fit into some kind of new innovative mold that didn't really quite work, that they were really trying to address. Sometimes it does beautifully, but a lot of times that is not really the case. So what you support are brand new operas and brand new ballet?
Exactly. It's the idea of allowing artists or enabling them to think about what are the topics and the situations that we find ourselves in nowadays, and to also mirror them from an artistic point of view to get us to reflect about today's society, our behavior, in order to also trigger inspiration and a curiosity for solutions for the future, and to also reflect about our current state.
Oh, wonderful. Well, now, how did the name Fedora come about? Are you quoting the hat, or is it the opera by Giordano?
Well, actually, it's a question we get a lot because indeed it triggers a lot of curiosity. And Fedora was relaunched in 2014 under the presidency of our president, Mr. Jérôme François Cisnis. And it was created in tribute to Rolf Liebermann, who was a great composer and also opera house director in Hamburg and Paris in the 80s, and had initiated a European initiative with that name also to foster intercultural dialogue and collaboration, and especially to support emerging artists. So as a tribute to him, we kept the name, and it can also be, interpreted as fédérer, fédération, to federate, to bring together.
I like that. I'm glad I asked. Yeah, Rolf Liebermann, quite a legend, absolutely. Now, you've been with Fedora from the get-go, from 2014, so that's 6 years, I guess. And so what has been the trajectory in those past 6 years?
Well, it's been quite a journey, I must say. It was the beginning. It started with presenting a opera and a ballet prize. That was the idea of our president, who conceived these prizes together with the sponsorship of two major donors, Van Cleef & Arpels for ballet and Generali for opera. And the idea of this competition was to support new creations that were realized in form of co-productions, but that have not been staged yet. So the idea was to honor work in progress and to also take necessary risk to invest in something that will eventually reach the stage. And that's what made also the competition so unique, because it's not giving a prize to something that has already proven its success and achievement, but it's actually about, like venture capital, your venture philanthropists identifying very good work and then investing it in order to help it reach the stage. And actually that very important task of identifying the quality of the idea and the project is done in collaboration with our expert partners. So for ballet and opera, it's Opera Europa, and they're the network of the professional network of opera and ballet directors across Europe, and they have the expertise to identify potential at a very early stage of a project, and they're the ones who assess the project, and we have an expert jury panel composed of opera directors who are world-renowned, who make that decision for us. That was the beginning, and then from there, when this started, we had 3 successful editions, and in 2017 we were selected by the European Commission to benefit from a major grant from their Creative Europe program that helped us to scale the competition and to make it more accessible and visible to the public, meaning that thanks to their investment of 2 million euros, we were able to build a major online platform on which we showcase these projects that are still in the making. And in addition to the jury selection, we also encourage the audience to vote online for their favorite projects. So that also creates, a hype around projects that are still in the making. And in a second step, the idea is to open it up and say, okay, once projects have been pre-selected and nominated by the jury, let's also try to encourage lower level donations to also open up philanthropy to everyone. That it's basically an act of democratizing philanthropy and creating a relationship between projects and individuals all over Europe and beyond. And that support from Creative Europe is very crucial in this step of opening up the arts, because it also creates an awareness of what it takes to actually create new works and what time investment is also required from all these different departments that work alongside but together to make something reach the stage. We realized that 2 topics were really emerging and becoming more and more relevant, which was in the area of education and outreach, and the other one is digital innovation. So that led us to develop 2 new prize categories to honor also those activities that opera houses were working on in the sector, which are now also funded by Kearney for digital, and a private foundation is backing us for the education prize. And these prizes also allowed opera houses to open up even more, to work with external partners who have an expertise that they might not necessarily have in-house. And we encourage this interdisciplinary collaboration between opera institutions, ballet companies, festivals, and also the private sector or innovative startups who are developing technology that can be really of service to the art form.
I mean, it's like utopia first of all, to create a whole new piece, an opera and ballet. Musicals are more often created, I believe, and they're, before they premiered on Broadway in New York, they'd go to New Haven, Connecticut, where they could try out. And that's not always the case here with ballet and the operas. And so you are creating that possibility before it even gets to the stage.
It's really a nice opportunity to see what's going to reach the stage in 1 to 2 years' time. What are going to be the topics that are going to be talked about on stage, and you kind of can look into the future a little bit in a way, because normally it's always top secret what opera houses are going to be performing in the following season, and that was also something we had to deal with in terms of, this special attention to keeping production secret, which we of course honor and respect. And we've actually noticed that now over the years, because it's already now the 6th edition of our competition, that opera houses are actually really happy to speak about the new work that they're producing, because they've realized that it actually creates opportunities the more you open up and share your vision, because you can find partners who want to support you.
It's quite in the spirit of the EU, isn't it? Then it's this united, as opposed to this is my cake, Berlin can't have a piece of it.
Exactly.
Because it's the Paris opera, or it's the Oper unter den Linden, and they have their stamp, and so a lot of ego involved there. And so what I'm hearing from you is, coming out of France, the égalité, fraternité.
You're making the cake bigger, and you're making the diversity brings quality and innovation to a project. And that's also, this philosophy is also really anchored in the criteria of the prizes, where we really look at the nationalities involved on the artistic side in terms of producing partners, also the skill set and the interdisciplinary background of all the different people involved. So these are really things that are valued in these applications. And I must say I was always inspired by when I came out of a performance, or when I listened to music at home or with a family. It's always been something that brightened up my life and made me happy and touched my soul in a way. And that's something I profoundly believe in, that's so important, that it contributes to our well-being and can also bring out of ourselves the best we can be, even though we might not be an artist, but it can also, spread positivity, it can spread hopefulness. And we've seen it now in this situation with the pandemic, that in the end, what kept people going on a daily basis when being confined to your homes was the arts, was music. You saw people in the streets singing together. And it's really more than words can say what the arts represent as a value, and they're part of our humanity.
Yeah, it makes me think of Churchill's famous quote during World War II, when his staff said, well, we should probably be cutting any money that we're giving to the arts and funnel it over to the military. And he said, no, absolutely not. Then what are we fighting for? And to keep the arts going, especially at that time. So thank you for doing that, and for helping the artists realize their dreams and reflected through society to inspire. Yeah, it's very important. It's like the air we breathe. It really is. Now, I know that you have you are attracting younger audiences. That's very important, because you have a lot of the younger generation will go around with their earbuds in. Okay, maybe they're listening to nice music, but live music and stage experience, as opposed to seeing everything online. You have, in one of your prizes, an education prize. How does that work?
Exactly. As you say, the live experience is unbeatable. And I think that's what's giving us all the hope that after what's happening right now, it will one day return, and we will be able to enjoy an opera and ballet performance or a concert live from a seat in an auditorium. And as you were saying, it's very important that access is given to these art forms that are so valuable in our lives. And with opera houses being more and more aware of this and doing amazing jobs on creating development outreach projects that are developing the relationships with all parts of our community, it's really nice to see that through a dedicated prize category, the Fedora Education Prize, we're able to also bring the art form to communities that might not normally have access to these art forms, and to be able to discover it, not be afraid or intimidated by it, but on the contrary, be curious to discover it and to be accompanied also throughout this experience. And we were really happy because last year we had the first edition of this prize, and the focus of it is to support projects that use ballet and opera to trigger a social integration and intercultural dialogue.
Are affiliated with 95 arts institutions. That's kind of amazing. In 25 countries. Okay, one of those arts institutions is the AVL Cultural Foundation. How did you two get together?
Well, we were actually very fortunate to meet several years ago through AVL France, who then introduced us to the foundation. And what was beautiful about this encounter is that we immediately realized that we had similar visions about where the art form should be going, and the need for renewal and the need for interdisciplinary dialogue. And we were very much inspired also by this very strong emphasis of the AVL Cultural Foundation on this dialogue between art and science, and how this dialogue can be very inspiring and mutually, how should I say, beneficial, in the sense that it always brings value to the table when you have different points of views and perspectives, because it can just enrich the solution. And it was actually through having these conversations and also with other partners that we saw really this need for a digital shift and harnessing digital innovation in the performing arts. And so since then, we've been great partners so far, and we're really grateful also for the support that also helps us now support much more digital innovation in the field of performing arts, which is also symbolized through our new digital prize that has been introduced this year for the first time, and it's actually awarding digital innovation on and beyond the stage, and it's backed also by a private company, Kearney, that is really pushing forward digital transformation in their sector, like AVL is doing also in the engineering side of the world. And we see the same value that can be applied also in the performing arts. So it's all about seeing how you can share values and you apply it in your own respective areas.
It couldn't be more well-timed, since everyone's online hungry. The Met has opened up their performances, their live, their streaming. A lot of other opera houses have too. The museums, you can take virtual tours, of museums, and this will create a hunger to go and experience Van Gogh live, And so that's a wonderful thing. Now, I want to ask you about something that you were telling me about yesterday when we got to know each other. Something near and dear to pretty much all of us in the branch of arts management and artists, donors, and that is the possibility of making your donations tax deductible across the board. Now, this sounds pretty exciting. Could you tell me more about that, Edilia?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, especially in times where we are living through this experience of seeing borders in Europe closed between countries, which never was the case since basically World War II. It's scary to say, apart from some things that happened since then. To say that normally the concept of Europe is all about the free flow of people, goods, and money, and also have one concept for a specific policy in Europe to abide by. And the idea here is to say generosity should not be held back by borders. However, over the last almost 20 years, there has been an excellent network called the Transnational Giving Europe Network, which is a network of private national foundations across Europe who enable cross-border giving, meaning that a donor can make a donation to the national foundation in its country, and they will pass on the donation safely and corresponding to all the legal requirements to the organization that the donor initially wanted to support, and then the foundation makes a tax receipt available to the donor that is valid in his country of residence. And what we've been doing now over the last year is working with Transnational Giving Europe to build an online solution that automates this process and makes the user journey for the donor easier and all digitalized, so that the act of giving is simplified, and that there's no longer this administrative burden that could maybe hinder some willing donors to actually make their donation. It's not just us who were working on this, but we also collaborated with a nonprofit organization in Germany called Common Goal, and it's an initiative in the soccer game field that is also raising funds for social projects through football. And the idea is to define together what are the needs of nonprofit organizations in Europe in order to raise funds on an international level, and then to feed all these requirements into the system, so that now next month we will be launching it together with Transnational Giving, to make then also this solution in the long term available to any nonprofit organization across Europe, so that anyone can benefit,
not
from
just
this.
opera and ballet.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Museums, what not? It in the arts, or just any nonprofit?
No, any nonprofit organization. So that's why it's a pioneering project with our organization Fedora for opera and ballet, and Common Goal for football and soccer. However, it's the idea is this is just the test phase, and then anyone can actually be able to use the system. So tomorrow could be universities, museums, hospitals, anyone who is now in the need of raising funds, either to save lives or to uphold an art form. Yeah.
That is so exciting. Edilia, this has been such an enlightening discussion with you.
That was a pleasure.
And I, on behalf of AVL Cultural Foundation, I would like to thank you, your team, and your colleagues all over the world for taking opera and ballet to new levels. Really, it's so innovative, so inspiring, and thank you so much, and I wish you continued success.
Thank you so much. Take care.